Okay, today we're going to work on georeferencing. We're going to take a hand-drawn map and we're going to reference it to a map of the Soho district of London. What we're going to do is take Dr. John Snow's data regarding the cholera epidemic of 1854 in London, and it's pretty much the first really good epidemiological map ever made. An excellent book is called The Ghost Map by Stephen Johnson, which you might find interesting. In any case, what we're going to do, we've added in this georeferenced map of the Soho district, and we're going to pull in Snow's map. It has no reference, and that's what we want. If you don't have the georeferencing toolbar up, go up to Customize Toolbars and tick the georeferencing. Make sure you've picked the right file that you want to georeference. And now it still won't show up, but we go to georeferencing and say Fit to Display. There's a tool here called the Viewer, which you can move it around and do your georeferencing that way. I've never gotten used to it. I don't really like it that much. So I'm going to do this the way I've gotten used to. So what we'll do is go here. We're going to add some control points. I happen to know of a few places that are that I can find on both maps. So here's Great Marlborough at Regent Street, and so let's see, there's Great Marlborough at Regent Street. Okay. This corner here down at Regent's Quadrant is pretty easy to find. And that's here. We can go to Dean Street at Oxford. That's a pretty good one. So Dean Street is here, Dean Street at Oxford, and some of them aren't as easy from there. Let's see if we can find, let's look for one more, see if we can find it. So there's let's try, some of these streets didn't exist in 1854. Well, let's take a look at it and see what it looks like. I'll turn the display on and make it 50% transparent, and it's not great, but it's not too bad either. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and take that. We can look at our residuals, and they actually look too good to be true, but this is fairly decent, so we'll save it. We go to georeferencing and update georeferencing. Okay, now what we want to do, I'm going to make the display zero transparency. And at this point, I'm going to turn off the map. We now have a georeferenced map from 1854. It's on the 1936 British National Grid. It's the Universal Transverse Mercator projection. In any case, what we want to do next is get some data in, and I'll give you the reference to where I found that, but this cholera XY data is what we want to get, so we're going to add data, and that's what we want. And we want deaths and pumps. This is a sort of metadata file. We don't actually need it at this point. Okay. Let's start with pumps. That's a little bit easier. So what I want to do is display XY data, and X and Y are what we want. We want to get rid of the coordinate system. We have no coordinate system. We go to add coordinate system and we clear that out. Okay. All right. So we say OK. This gives us a warning we don't have an object ID field. So we have an events layer, as they call it. What we'll do is export data using this layer source data, and we'll call this pumps points and say OK. And we're going to add it, but ArcMap has no idea where to put it. What we have to do now is take our point shapefile and turn it into a raster, which we can work with. All right. This should be under Conversion Tools to Raster, and I want, whoops, I've forgotten something. I always do. What I need to do is open the attribute table. I have to add a Z field, so we'll add a field to our shapefile. We're going to just call it Z, and we'll make it short integer, and that'll be fine. Right click on the header. I'm going to go to field calculator, ignore the warning, and so Z equals 1. We just need a Z field, and say OK. There we go. All right. Okay, now we're going to make a raster out of this. We go back to Conversion Tools. We want Point to Raster, and our input features are going to be pumps points, and our value field is going to be our Z field, and we're going to put this out, and we're going to call, let's see, yeah, that's where we want it. So let's call this pumps raster, and alrighty, and let's make this cell size a bit bigger. It turns out looking so tiny it's hard to find the georeferencing points. Okay, close. Now here's something I'm not sure why this is so. Whenever I've tried to georeference this is an Esri grid format file, and for some reason it doesn't work that well. I can't get it to update georeferencing. But what I'll do is go down to this script, raster to other format, and I'll take my pumps raster. Whoops, wrong. There we go. So let's go to here. That's where I want to look. So here's our pumps raster. We're going to add that. We can do a bunch at a time if we want to. And our output workspace is going to be this, and I'm going to call it, wait a minute, this it's looking for workspace. There, we add that, and it's going to automatically give us the same name with a TIFF extension. All right, and now oh, it's not added into the map yet. I have to put that in myself, and that should be right there. Pumps raster TIFF. Okay, and let's we can get rid of pumps raster. We can let's see, we can get rid of the events layer. That'll clean things up a little bit. So there's pumps raster TIFF, and that looks fine. So now let's go to pumps raster TIFF, go to georeferencing, fit to display. Let me make a color a little bit more colorful here. Let's make it red. That'll show up pretty good. Alright, and the trick here is to pick the first two about right. If you get the first 2 or 3 right, you're home free. If you don't, delete all the points and start over. But in any case, I happen to, having done this before, I know that that one is that one, and therefore I'm going to turn this off just so it's for sure where I'm going. And where are we? There we go. And that is that one, and we got 2 that are pretty good, so we can now we've got to get, so the furthest southern one I think is that one, so let's try that. We will go here, and that should be that one. And let's see where we are. Let's go to this one, which is pretty certainly this one, and that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead, let's look at our residuals and see how far off we are. Anywhere from 1/10 to several meters. To save time, I won't try to get it any better. That'll be pretty okay, at least for the moment. So we're going to update georeferencing and turn that off so we're not adding more points. Okay, now we've got a georeferenced raster file here, and that, I guess we could take that, but we really have no option other than just the color for the display. So what I'm going to do is convert this raster back to a shapefile now. So what I want to do is from raster, and I want raster to point, and my input raster is going to be pumps raster TIFF, and my field value doesn't matter. I'm going to I'll call this pumps points underscore ref to make me be sure I know that I've got, these are now georeferenced, and that should be okay. So pumps points, let's remove that. So pumps points ref. Let's look at our attribute, or actually let's turn off the snow map, and let me go here. Let's turn it on and look. The history is that the Broad Street pump was the one where the water was bad, and they finally removed the handle from the Broad Street pump. So let's find the Broad Street pump and see how we can identify it. Let's turn off the snow map. So that's got to be that one. Let me go here, and all right, that's point ID 7. So I'll show you why I'm doing that here in a minute. All right, so let's symbolize some of this stuff, and we're going to do categories, and I'm going to add values. Point ID, point ID is what I want. I want point ID 7. I'm going to add that to the list, and that'll be all I need. Whoops. Let's remove that one. I don't know what I did there. Let's symbolize this one, and let's make it big and bold. Let's make a star. Let's make it red inside. Let's make it, oh gosh, we'll make it pretty darn big so it really shows up. And now all other values, we'll double click on that, and we can do pretty much anything we want. Let's make triangle, and let's make it dark blue, and let's make it, I don't know, 30 point, something like that. And we say OK and OK, and there we are. And we can turn our OS map back on. So we've got our Broad Street pump labeled, and we've got our Broad Street pump, the one that was all the trouble, georeferenced. And I think I'll stop the video here. We'll start again, and we'll georeference the deaths, and I'll skip a few steps because the steps are the same. So in any case, that's it for now, and I'll start another one here in a moment.